Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today, as promised, we'll be going through the paths from 7.1.5 that are recommended in my previous video with the teams I recommended using. This will allow you to get a little more insight into why I chose these teams and how I play around the nodes. This will be much more relaxed, but I still suggest you go and watch the first video if you haven't already, as it contains most of the key information around this quest. And with that, let's jump in. So, here we are in 7.1.5, and we'll be starting off with the Hood path. The team today is 565 Guardian, 565 Nick Fury, 6-star rank 3 Sunspot, 6-star rank 3 Moleman, and 6-star rank 4 Hulkling. Don't worry about the overrank, we won't actually get around to using him today, though he's a great champion. Starting off, we've got the Hood, and we'll be using Nick Fury. The plan for this fight is really rather simple. Keep bleeds on the Hood so we don't have to worry about energy adoption fire, and use the Shake It Off node to remove the poisons when they start coming. If we do get any incinerates on us, we can just use Shake It Off to get rid of those as well. It is one of the most overpowered player positive nodes out there. So we're going for our special 2, we've got 7 bleeds, and we've got a poison on us. Oh, no we don't, we just remove it. I should have just baited the special 1 here, but if you do push him to the special 2, slow down, because he's going to be stun immune whilst he's invisible. Obviously he's invisible, so you're going to miss as well, so just play it really nice and slowly. What we can see here as well, that Nick Fury's passive bleed doesn't shut off energy adoption fire, but as soon as we have a bleed debuff on us, we can get rid of them all nice and easily. And that's that fight. Nicely wrapped up. Nick Fury is an absolute beast, and if we wanted to really speed things up, we could push him into his second life, get his Mega Fury and go from there, but first life for a bit of safety net. Up next we have Invisible Woman, and we could use Moleman or Nick Fury here, but I'm going to use Nick Fury again, simply because he has miss counters available to him when he's above 5 of his tactical charges, and Invisible Woman, clues in the title, does like to cause miss. Moleman has no access to any miss counters, so Nick Fury it is. Invisible Woman's health pool is a little bit smaller than the Hood's, but she's got that shield that we have to chunk through, which can make her quite tanky. My plan is to deal as much damage as possible to her whilst the shield is down, and then we're going to have to go through it again. We've got poisons on us, so no we don't, because Shake It Off is a brilliant node, and now we're just trying to get the special 1 or special 2 out of her. We decide to just ignore it and go for the special 2, so we knock her down. When you knock down Invisible Woman, she has a chance to go invisible, which is quite a problem, unless she's bleeding, because then the invisibility isn't paused, and you can just wait a few seconds for it to go away. She's got no shield here, so with just 1 extra bleed, she goes down without issue. Class advantage in that fight, pushing us even further. For fight number 3, we have Vulture, and here we'll be using Moleman. The plan is pretty similar, though a thing that we need to watch out for with Moleman is his ability to cause you to miss. Now I know what I've just said about Nick Fury, but the miss in this fight is much more controlled, as we will see. If Vulture dashes back and then dashes forward, you can see that he may cause you to miss if that attack doesn't land. There, you can see that he got his Chitauri charges dropped by 50, but he gained the miss passive. But Moleman kind of doesn't care. We're just going to chunk through him as best we can, using the Shake It Off node to purify where required. Moleman does have access to his own inbuilt purify, but that only works while he isn't in his Monster Frenzy phase. And you can see that our time is going round at the moment, so he is in his Monster Frenzy phase. So we've got no inbuilt shrug off, but the Shake It Off node doing what it does best. We've gone for our first special 2. Those bleeds are really ticking away. We've probably got between 4,000 and 5,000 DPS when we have 10 bleeds. And we're using... oh, there we go, we missed again. Using our Unstoppables to get free openings. Job's done. Moleman, very, very good. We took a few extra hits more than I'd like to, but Moleman's also quite tanky, so we really don't have to worry about that. Up next is probably the hardest fight on the path, Abomination, and that has nothing to do with the fact that he's got tricky animations or a complicated kit. He has one of the simplest kits in the entire game, but simply that he will be putting extra poison debuffs on you. We'll be going in with Moleman again, but we can just use the Shake It Off node here to get rid of most of them. Yes, they might start eating into your health slightly, but it's really not too much of an issue, as we will see. The Shake It Off node doesn't just work for node debuffs, it also works for any other debuffs you could be inflicted with. So for example, Invisible Woman's debuffs, we got rid of those straight away. If we were incinerated by Vulture, again, we could use Shake It Off to get rid of those. We had 2 poisons on us, now we don't. Got 2 more poisons on us now, in fact quite a few poisons. Don't care, get rid of all of those. More poisons, but guess what, we're going to get rid of those as well. Intercept, lots of bleeds, get rid of both poisons. Big special 2 incoming, it's 25k, 8.5, 8.5, 8.5, and a 33k. Abomination is no more. We took lots of poison damage in that fight, but overall, really not very much. Up next we have Symbiote Supreme, and I'll be using Nick Fury for this fight. Why? Well, Symbiote Supreme feeds on our buffs, and if he nullifies a buff when he's in the right phase, he'll actually deal us a chunk of damage. Mole Man has access to significantly more buffs than Nick Fury, with his very short Unstoppables, and we want to avoid using those where possible. The only buffs Nick Fury can gain are the Dex buff and his own Fury's Fury. So we're going to avoid going into our second life, or somehow getting to 20 tactical charges and triggering it ourselves. If we were to Dex here and get rid of that stagger, we would actually take some significant damage, and that is something I want to avoid doing. It would also give Symbiote Supreme his sort of purple-blue charges. You can see he's got 25 of those at the moment, which is what gives him his power gain when he shifts phase, and we want to avoid that as well. Here we've gone for our passive bleed, so that puts a few debuffs on us, but we can just get rid of all of those. And now we're just going to finish the fight up very, very quickly. I don't think Symbiote Supreme threw a special in that entire fight. Surprisingly smooth. Up next, the last fight on the path, we have Yellow Jacket. What do we need to consider here? Well, really not much. A lot of Yellow Jacket's issues come from the fact that if you take Power Stings from his Special 1, and you don't get rid of them, they will stun you when they expire. I mean, you kind of have to take Power Sting damage, or you'll get stunned and slapped. But with Shake It Off, we can just get rid of those. So nothing to worry about there at all. The only other thing we need to remember about Yellow Jacket, which is often forgotten, is unblockable specials against him suffer massively reduced damage, though they do drain his radiation charges, or his nuclear charges, can't remember. So with Mole Man here, we're just not going to use any specials, and we're just going to intercept him, and stack up a whole load of those bleeds. 11k mediums are more than enough to chip this guy down, and let those bleeds tick him out. 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's that. No specials required whatsoever. Finally, the boss. We have Punishing Angel. Fabulous name. Use the node swapper if you need it, but as always we use the concise team. Pick up an energy refill, and in we go. This fight is all about burst and planning. Hence, we'll be starting with Sunspot. We've covered the minor nodes in the other video, but the major node you need to watch out for here is the Mercy node. You can see I've got the green, well, actually we've both got green hearts underneath us. Whenever I dex, I will gain one of those charges. Whenever we parry Angela, all of our charges will move on to her, and we will actually be able to deal her some damage. You can see that our basic attack's just 304. Not great. Angela, or Punishing Angel here, is taking 90% reduced damage, whilst she doesn't have mercy charges on her. So I've just started by ramping up Sunspot, and I don't actually have to worry too much about keeping his charges away. This is because whenever Punishing Angel shrugs off any of our incinerates, they get put straight back onto us as the flare state, whatever the left-hand charges are called. Solar charges, that's it. So we're now up to 4 stacks of flare state, and due to the mighty charge node, she is constantly throwing the incinerates back at us, so we don't have to worry about keeping them going too much with the standard parry heavy playstyle of Sunspot. I'm looking for 1 extra mercy charge. 3 or 4 is sort of where I'd like to go in at. And here we get 3. A little bit slow on the counter, go for the special 2. Bang, bang, bang. 86 K crit times 3. Very, very nice. Unfortunately, a little bit slow on that last hit, so we've got to go for another cycle, but that's no big deal. I'm not wholly concerned about my solar charges, and I'm doing a very poor job of parrying against Punishing Angel, particularly on those gunshots, to take minimal damage. So, we're just looking to get back to our special 2. We've got 2 stacks of mercy, there's a third. So now we're just going to go for a parry, special 2, and close the fight out. We've got 4 stacks, 5 stacks of mercy, 6 stacks of mercy. Come on. Can't get the parry in. Parry, there's the parry. And now, pat, pop, pop. That's enough to close out the fight, but she is still Punisher underneath, which means we've got to wait for her indestructible to disappear. It's gone now, so we're just looking to get in pretty much any hit at all, and there we go. Very, very simple, really. So now we're cutting over to the Terrax Path. The team here is 565 Ascended Ronin, 565 Corvus Glaive, 6-star rank 3 Diablo, 6-star rank 3 Wiccan, and 6-star rank 4, I think, Havoc. Apologies for the cut there, I took the liberty of cutting out the loading screen because it was a rather obnoxious 23 seconds long while my phone was lagging out. In this fight, we're just looking to stack up debuffs on Terrax, which will cause him to gain many Furies, but our Neutralize will prevent all of those from triggering, giving us more Incinerate. Look at that regen go from Wiccan, as his special 1 lets him regenerate a huge amount of energy damage that he's taken throughout the fight. We've got to make sure we remember to trigger Buffet before acting the special 1 though, otherwise he's just going to eat our regen, and that's a bit of a problem. Going for another special 1, more regen, more Incinerates. He's up to 75 Incinerates that are ticking for over 10,000 damage per tick, and before you know it, the fight's over. Easy as that. So, what if you don't have a Wiccan, but you do have a Ronin? And that's where Ronin comes in. This is basically the best node in the game to use Ronin on. He excels anywhere where the opponent has even just a few buffs, and the more buffs you have, the better. Or the more buffs they have, the better anyway. His signature ability extends your stun duration and increases your damage depending on the number of buffs the opponent has. So you can see even with 4 or 5 buffs, we're already getting 7k light crits, which is not bad from a 5-star champion. He's up to 6 buffs, now he's up to 10. So it was 8 when we threw it, and look at the duration on that stun debuff. That's my lag spikes, not yours, by the way. We're doing 15k mediums, up to 10k light crits, and we've got enough time for 3 or 4 max combos before the stun wears off. We're up to 27k crit mediums, another stun. It's just, there is nothing they can do against a Ronin, and that is why he is the ultimate cheeselord of the game. That fight was 37 seconds from a 5-star champion, and I would say for 30 of those seconds, they could do absolutely nothing. Now, you might be saying, okay, Civil Warrior, he generates quite a lot of his own buffs, he's got all of those armours feeding into it. What would a fight look like without those armours? And here we have Angela. She does have 1 armour, but it's not hugely potent, and we don't have to worry about it too much. Ronin is generating Furies in the background, but they aren't very big, though they are enough to feed Buffet. So we do have to worry about them. Well, not worry, watch out for them slightly. Ronin has more than enough damage here to outdo any Buffet regeneration they could be getting. Only 4 buffs there, but still more than enough, even with my slightly dodgy playing, to go for full combo, medium, and then another full combo, and by this point, that's it. The fight is effectively over at this point. There is pretty much, well, there is nothing Angela can do. Just look at the duration on the stun debuff. I could very, very easily push to special 2 here, but there's absolutely no need. 20k light crits, full yellow bar finish from Ronin. Very, very easy. Now you might be saying, okay, it works great for those 2 fights, but now we've got Storm X, and she can glance our hits. If she glances our hits, that means we might not get the stun debuff from our specials on her, while she's at special 3 with a whole bunch of prowess and a whole stack of Furies. Isn't that just going to instantly one-shot us? And you would be correct on nearly every point just made there. Storm X does generate her own prowess, and they're pretty good prowess too. She's also getting Furies from the nodes, and whilst we stunlock her, she will indeed be at a special 3. The difference is, Storm X can only glance basic attacks, not special attacks. And with her rather meagre health pool, this fight is already over. She's got 18 buffs on her, which is enough for 7k non-crits. That was a nearly 70k special 1 from a 5-star champion, and that's it. The fight's over. Very, very poor crit RNG from her glancing, preventing our crits. Ronin doesn't care. The stun lands. That's that. Now I might hear you saying, okay, but Groot reduces the duration of incoming debuffs by 55%. Isn't that going to make this much harder? To which you would be entitled to think. But not only does Ronin not care, because we could just generate twice as many buffs on the opponent, and that would be fine, and not only does Groot generate a whole bunch of his own buffs, but the order of operations here is really, really important. We stun Groot with the stun on our special 1. I can't remember exactly how long it is, but let's just say it's about 2 seconds. We have a 2-second stun on our special 1, which is increased based on our signature ability. I'm actually going to go for the special 2 here as well, which is the first time we'll see it in this video. So you might say, okay, we've gone from a 2-second stun to a 10-second stun, but then Groot will reduce that by 55% to make it about 4.5 seconds. That's not quite how it works. 32k mediums, 50k mediums, gotta love it. Groot will reduce the duration of our base stun, and then the sig triggers. So he will reduce the 2 seconds down to 1-ish second, and then the signature ability triggers, so that is not affected by Groot, making it a perfectly safe option. Now I might hear you say, what about against Iron Man Infinity War, where he can auto-block us? And that's going to be quite a big problem, because if we get auto-blocked while he's stunned, and the stun is removed, he's going to be at special 3, which is more than enough to get rid of us completely, particularly with the plasma that comes from it. And you would be right in thinking so. Ronan does have an armor break on his heavy attack, though we haven't actually seen it yet in this fight. It does exist, I promise. But also, Iron Man can't auto-block whilst he is stunned. So all we've got to do is generate some fury buffs on him, and once the stun chain starts going, even if we do whiff our first special 1 completely, the fight's effectively over. 7 buffs up to 14, and yes, with all those armors, we aren't hitting very hard. But Ronan doesn't care, because the buffs are going up, which means the damage is just going to go up and up and up. Here I'd start debating whether I should go for heavy attacks to try and get rid of some of those armors. 40k special 1 and 23 buffs, so we go for a light whiff for spacing. We're getting 10k, that was a 15k one, 15k again, 15k again. We're just not critting. But that was 141k special 1, and that was 110k heavy attack, so there's the fight over. That didn't last very long. Last up on the path, or after the path, we have the boss. Again, skipping the node choice, and we're going here for Night-Carnage. Here we have to worry about energy adoption lightning, we're going to pick up another energy refill, and the best ways to get around this are using champions that don't care, or champions that can poison him. Poison is also increased by the poison vulnerability node, and so that will also get rid of the energy adoption lightning as per that node. I have just seen, and I apologise, this is actually a rank 5 Havoc, so that is sort of rank 4 with boosts. Apologies for the overrank, I thought he was only rank 4 at the time of recording. A rank 4 Havoc will work just fine, a rank 3 with boosts, which is probably worth using here. Absolutely fine. You can pick up a set of small boosts, so that's the 10% green, the 10% orange, and the 15% health for just 30k loyalty, all of them, so that's 10k, 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 from the loyalty store, and there you can pick up as many as you want. There's a great place to get small boosts when you need them. What's going on in this fight is for every tick of energy damage Havoc takes, he places a plasma on the opponent, and you can see they're going absolutely mental, and when they hit to 10, they detonate for about 8k damage each. So he's almost already dead just from having all those shocks stack up on us. The shocks don't deal a huge amount of damage, and with Havoc's energy resistance they deal even less damage, but with the mutual Spectre node, it is becoming a bit of an issue because he's reversing my willpower. If you aren't running willpower, you won't have any issues in this fight if you want to use this tactic, and with a very large 112k special 3 from Havoc, we close out that fight without issues. Never forget to move to that ending node, and that is how you finish the quest. So, there you have it. Everything you need to know to beat 7.1.5. If you've got any questions, please do leave them down below, and I'll do my best to answer as many as possible. I have a whole list of things in the works, so make sure you subscribe, so you don't miss out. I am really busy with real life stuff at the moment. Maybe I'll do a sort of short life update video at some point, but I will still do my best to try and get out stuff to you as regularly as I can. I do also have a Discord server, a great place to get specific advice, make suggestions for future video topics, and while I'm awake, I do my best to be there as much as possible. Thank you, and I will see you next time.